Hey guys, on our California Haunts Radio, I'm going to be talking about some of our darker cases and how we dealt with them. I'll be right back. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust, turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey everybody, good evening, happy Thursday. I almost said happy Friday. Kind of day I'm having. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your, give me a second here. Let me get the right button here. Is the right button? Yeah. My name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you think you have a paranormal need, we can get you. It might take us a couple of days because California is this really, really huge state. But we will get you. In the case that we can't get you right away, I have to WD-40 my chair again. In the case that we can't get you right away, we will have one of our mediums call you and talk with you about what may or may not be going on. And in that case, if it is something paranormal, they can settle it down because, like I said, it might take us a couple of days to get you. But we will eventually get you. Anyway, welcome. I have to make a quick announcement. And I didn't want to have to make this announcement for this show, but got a little problem. And I did some work for somebody because I do freelance newspaper work, and I've been waiting on a check from them for the work that I did. And unfortunately, the check finally was in the mail. I have that informed delivery thing, but it never made it here. So apparently, it was misdelivered elsewhere. Well, I'm in a spot because this is to pay my bills, and I'm $139 short at this point on my bills. And I'm about to probably lose my internet, and the free version this version of StreamYard is going to go the free version starting in about an hour or two from here, and that means tomorrow night you're only going to find the show on YouTube because I couldn't make the payment, and I'm really upset. I'm really disgusted, and it's just wow. There's three payments I couldn't make this month because I've been waiting on this check. And now that it's been misdelivered, who knows? So we're probably going to have to drive up to the client and pick it up. But it's just not going to do me any good over the weekend. If you could find it in your heart to spare, to help me out a little bit, that would be great. I want to keep the show on the air. We've been getting really good ratings, through RSS. We've got 10,700 downloads of the show on the RSS feed. And, it's just starting to take off. And this is sad that this had to happen this month and hit this way. I'm really, at a loss right now. I'm at a loss right now. We've got events going with Nancy Matz. Maybe you guys can help me out by signing up for that Valentines Reading with Nancy Matz. The links are down in the description of the show and everything if you want to do that. But that's the situation right now where we're at as far as the show goes, is that who knows where the check went. Okay. I did see it in form delivery. I have a photo of it. Who knows? Just an FYI. So $139 might as well be $1 million. Anyhow, welcome to the show. And I think I've got a good show for you lined up today. I'm going to be talking about dark forces and how our team has dealt with them. And we'll talk about a few things with that. If you're watching from Facebook and you like what you hear today, please be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already. Please be sure to leave me a thumbs up, happy face, things like that if you haven't done that. And what that does, or even comment in the chat room, because what that does is it puts us higher up in the FYP. I'm just a little as you can tell, I'm a little distracted over all this money situation. It puts us up higher in the FYP, which means Facebook distributes us out more. Okay. Also, it not only does that, I forgot where I was at. Oh, yes. Facebook distributes this more. Sorry about that. If you have somebody in your house with you or in the building with you who might be interested in the show, please feel free to share us. I'm trying to get the word out about the show. And YouTube works the same way. YouTube works the same way. Please be sure to like and share us, and also uh, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'd appreciate it. We're just trying to build up our presence, just like over on TikTok or anywhere else that we're at. Now, if you need to find us for any reason, just Google California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team or California Haunts Radio, and we will pop up. You'll see, we'll pop up. Again, I apologize for today. I'm going to do the show, and I'm going to try and stay in as great a mood as I can, but I'm rather stressed. Like I said, I wish that check would have arrived so that I could pay the rest of my bills, but I can't. So you're going to see some changes here as well. Don't forget that tomorrow, because of the situation, we will be on the free version, the basic free version of StreamYard, which means we can only stream to one location, which you're going to have to find us over on YouTube. Okay, unfortunately, that's the only place. I had to decide between Facebook and StreamYard to do open stream, and that was it for tomorrow. So I was hoping that beyond hope that that check would get here, but like I said, it was misdelivered, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm $139 short. Okay, that being said, be sure to comment in the chat room. Hello, who we got in the chat room? Let me take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and push this up. Hello, Dad Cal. How you doing? How you doing? But yeah, it's the situation is unfortunate, and if you guys could find it in your heart to help me get that $139 in bills paid, I'd appreciate it. I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation. I've been like holding on to the creditors, and well, you guys have been there, done that, right? Um, Milking the creditors so that I could keep it going until the check arrived. Well, the check was going to arrive. I saw it on Wednesday. It was ready to be delivered, and it never got here. So it was misdelivered. So if you can find it in your heart. And again, Nancy Matz has her event coming up on the 4th of February. If you want to get a reading, feel free to use that link and go on over there. Okay, that being said, we're going to talk about some stuff. Reverend Bill Bean was on Monday, and we were talking about scary cases, demonic cases and things like that. How we got going here? I'm going to take a look. I have my glasses on, so I'm blind. We were talking about some of the demonic cases that he has done, exorcisms and whatnot, and we were also talking about his background and how he got to where he is doing these cases. But I decided that to talk with you guys about stuff and be very honest about paranormal investigating in general. If you turn the TV on, and I don't have anything against the TV shows, I really don't. Sometimes I do. Because when I've been contacted by TV shows and TV producers to contribute to their TV shows, they always want a darker story. Very seldom do they want to hear about a ghost being Uncle Bob or Aunt Marge or whatever. They always want a dark story. And when you look at a lot of these shows, it's always some dark demonic being now. And that's caused a thing with clients to where when we get calls to go out, they always insist that it's something dark and demonic when it may not be. And so it's really hard to convince people sometimes that, hey, relax, it's probably not what you think it is. Because, demonic cases, to be perfectly honest, are few and far between. I know some of the priests of the Catholic Church and different people have said that, the momentum of cases is picking up for that stuff for whatever reason. But to be perfectly honest, the amount of demonic cases is few and far between. I mean, in the 18 years I've been doing this, my team has probably come across 4, maybe 5, if that, because it's just very, very, very rare. So if you listen, if you run into anybody that'll tell you any different, that it's not rare that they've got a lot of demonic cases coming up, you have to question that team because they're few and far between. And Nancy Matz and I, and as you guys know, we have differing opinions about what is demonic and what's not. Because Nancy Matz believes that there's nothing demonic. That these ghosts are just insane because they've been wandering around so much. They've essentially lost their minds. And I think some of that's true. I have to agree with her on some counts about that. And remember, when I go, if you guys have questions, be sure to ask me questions because I'm more than willing to answer and interact with you guys tonight. We had one case here locally in Sacramento, probably about 12 blocks from where I live, that of a ghost that wanted people to think it was demonic. And sometimes maybe that's where it falls under Nancy Matz's category of being, somebody that's gone in, some ethereal person that's gone insane. because in this case, this gentleman had died on the property, and I don't know if it was a thing where he didn't like people messing around on his property or what was going on, but he was pretty aggressive. And when we initially got called into the case, it was because the client was going to bed at night, and she would watch, like, like programs on TV like the rest of us. And if it was Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or somebody on a movie that she watched, she would go to bed that night and she would have dreams of those particular guys. And when she woke up in the morning, she felt violated. And what was going on was that this ghost, through our investigation, this particular ghost was coming into her dreams and posing in her dreams as these actors, these really good looking actors like, Brad Pitt and whoever else. So that was starting to happen with her. So we went out, did the original prelim. We actually ended up going out there 4 or 5 times. And originally we went out, did the prelim, and like I always try to tell you guys, I like to do very, very thorough prelims. And so we went out, and it usually takes us like maybe 2 to 3 hours on a prelim, because I've got a really extensive questionnaire because I want to know somewhat of what we're dealing with. And we went out on this prelim, and while we were in the middle of the prelim, it was interesting because my associate Karen McIntyre, she was doing the walk around while I was doing the interviewing of the client, and she came into the living room and she goes, "You know what? I feel like my face is being squeezed." So something was squeezing her face, and it actually drew blood to the point where she told me, she says, "God, I feel like my face is being squeezed. I can taste blood." And of course, I stayed real calm and I said, "Well, that's weird." And it was interesting because right after that happened, and I started the preliminary, and I said, "We're here at such and such house, such and such day, such and such time." What I didn't know at the time was that whoever this was or whatever this was had screamed into the recorder and said, "Get out." And it was interesting because when they screamed, it even sounded demonic. It sounded like an animal, like a lion yelling at us at the time. And you know, at that time, that's what we were thinking originally, was that it was that maybe we did had run into a demonic case. So we get the investigation together and get the crew out there and went through all the steps, for this case. And lo and behold, with our psychic team coming out, we realized that this was just a man, a man who was trying to torment everybody in the house, whether he wanted them out or he wanted to control everybody in the house. The woman had an autistic daughter who was communicating with him as well. So we did some work accordingly, and ended up coming back. Of course, we even brought a crew from News 10 in with us, and then things got really interesting. And again, you know, up to this point, we thought maybe it might be this guy, maybe something demonic in this house or whatever. But we called in the shaman to help us out, and that's when it was determined it was a live man. But before all that happened, I had my team out. I had some very seasoned investigators out. I had some new investigators come out on this case, and one of them happened to be wearing a blessed cross around her neck. And she had to step away from the investigation because while she was in the house investigating, she saw the cross rise like this, like someone had pulled it out and was holding it out straight out like this. And it was an intimidation thing. Again, this gentleman wanted her to think that he was a demon, and that's why he grabbed the cross to hold it out there. Because we already knew what was going on, right? Because the shaman had told us this. And then a couple of the men that were there, because we had a guy filming, and then we had one of our investigators. They both complained that something had grabbed their private parts. And I mean, this guy, and especially on my team, the gentleman that was out there, very reliable. He's one of our science debunker type guys, and he felt the squeeze. I'm going to say that he felt the squeeze, right? And so did this news guy, this news anchor guy. So that was going on during this investigation. Um, and it was things like that, and it just wasn't him, because the girl being autistic was drawing in other ghosts into the house. There was like a doorway. So we did all our EVP sessions, and got real cool results with the EVP sessions. And then the shaman came in. I called in the shaman. She went in and worked with the lady. for I think it was a good couple weeks. Worked with her, and eventually, whatever this was settled down because the woman was able to take charge of the situation. Because I think initially she thought it was a demon as well because the way it was acting, but once she found out it was just I'm going to say a regular ghost, right? Just a normal ghost. She was able to take charge and really keep the thing at bay, away from her and her daughter. So that one ended up successful. But that's where when you go in, you really have to do your homework on stuff and really have to ask the right questions because otherwise, um, yeah, because otherwise you just don't know what you're dealing with. You can't just jump in when somebody calls you and then they tell you that they have something demonic going on in their home or business and say, okay, I'm going in to fight the devil. I'm going in to do this stuff. It doesn't work that way because you have to do a lot of poking around, investigating. And like I said, we went back 3 or 4 times before we were able to sort it out and figure out that it was, that it wasn't something demonic in this house. Because when I initially got done, okay, because when I initially got done with the prelim and listened back over the recording, this thing sounded like a demon. I mean, it literally sounded like a demon. And not only did it sound like some kind of animal howling saying get out, when I slowed it down, it really, really sounded demonic. And this is where I think the Nancy Mass's thoughts of it being human and being insane because it's been stuck in this loop comes into play. He was trying to act like a demon, and it's not the first time that we have run into ghosts that have done that, that have literally done that and wanted to act like demons when they really weren't. So that was an interesting case in and of itself. Following up on that case, we went out a few years later to a case out in, I'm not going to say where, but out in the rural area of Northern California, and the woman lived in a double wide, and she was having all kinds of problems. Another team had gone out ahead of us, and it turns out that they decided instead of investigating, this way is another reason why you have to you know, watch who you bring into your house to help you. Let me get a quick drink here. Okay. Again, this is another reason why you have to watch who comes out to your house and really do your homework. When you have a ghost team come out, a paranormal team, because in this case, it was a fairly well-known team. I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want to get into big old fights with people. But I gotta fix this chair. But they had come out and they had like a party atmosphere. They had hors d'oeuvres. They were barbecuing and doing all this stuff, and they really didn't help her. In fact, they told her that it was her. It was all about her, and that she was the one causing the problem. We get out there on scene to do the prelim. I had a woman come with me who was wanted to join the team. She was psychic, wanted to join the team, so I brought her along. I said, "Well, why don't you come out, watch how we do a prelim because we're very thorough and all this." She came out and she decided to walk around on her own. And then she came back to me. She says, "Come on and walk with me." So before I even started questioning this woman, we decided to take a walk around the property. We ended up. She had this beautiful 4-car garage, beautiful garage, storage, all that. Walked into this thing, and the the psychic looks at me and says, "Oh my God, do you see that?" She took a step back, and I could hear her gasp. And I said, "No, I don't know what you're looking at." She says, "It's right up there." She says, "It's only about 3 feet tall. It looks like a penguin, and its eyes are glowing." And I said, "I really don't see that." And it scared her. I could tell she was scared. So we walked out, and I went across the way, and she looked at me and she said, "Look, I'm not going to stay here. That thing scares me. I'm not going to stay here." So she left and never came back. So I go in to interview the woman to ask her about what's been going on in her house. And it sounded a lot similar to that other case we had done, with the one that was trying to act like a demon. But knowing about this dark figure that as a psychic put it, that looked like this little penguin, I started to wonder what was going on. And so we did the interview with her. Started because I'll take it back. The investigators don't see the interview information, well, they do with the psychics don't. Because what we do during the interview process is we go out, We take measurements all over the house. We go room to room. We look and see what types of stuff is on the floor. Is it carpeting? Is it flooring? We look at the thinness of the wall. So we're looking at electrical. We're looking at all this stuff, and the questionnaire has all that stuff included on it. Are you having electrical problems? Are you having nightmares? Are you taking recreational drugs? Are you doing this? Are you on any kind of medications? I mean, it's really, really thorough. So we can sort things out. There's also a section in there for demonic. Okay. Um, have you noticed anything heavy being moved around the house? Have you noticed knockings and things like that? So we ask all those questions of these people when we go out. So we have a pretty good idea what we're dealing with. In this case, because like I said, this psychic can see that thing, it made me wonder what it was. So we come back for investigation, and I was the first one in the house. And as I'm walking through the door, I see a 3-foot shadow go running down the hallway, running in the direction of the bedroom. And I thought, okay, here we go. Here I'm going to put this up here so I can see your questions. 139 is what I'm short right now. Unfortunately, $139. I'm short. Really bites. Really bites. Thank you for asking, Dad, California. I really appreciate it. What a week. So anyway, so I see this thing go running down the hall. I had my mother with me. My elderly mother at that point was going on investigations with me. So I set up like a command center in the living room, and I surrounded her with salt and some other stuff so nothing would bother her. And we decided to go after setting up our cameras and everything in this place. We decided to go investigate a little bit and do a session in the master bedroom. And we go in there. I've got my recorder going, and this is what was frightening. And I still have this. I still have this recording. I go to play it back. We do the regular EVP session. Can you tell me your name and all this other stuff? And I go to play it back, and I hear a voice say, "Gabriel, watch out." And it hit me while I was standing there. It hit me, not the ghost, but it hit me that somebody was warning the Archangel Gabriel about what was going on in this house. And so I called the team together and I went, okay, we got this problem. It looks like, looks like we're getting warnings about the danger in this house. My team comes in. We start to do the investigation. I had reports from all over. Cameras on tripods were getting knocked over in the house. I had a couple of people that went inside to use the restroom in this house, and they had set down their papers because everybody, some people will carry a clipboard to take notes during the investigation. They were having the clipboard. I could hear it. I could actually hear the clipboards being thrown against the walls. So whatever this was, did not want us there. And so she even came out and told me that her clipboard went flying. So that's when it all started. That was really early in this investigation that this stuff was going on. And so I had some people go into, because I rotate them through. I'll put like 1 or 2 teams in there and rotate people through. And so the rotation went into I had a group in the master bedroom, and there was a rotation that went into that garage area. People were coming out coughing and gagging because they told me that the garage smelled like vomit. They could smell vomit in that garage. Another report that came in, the psychic of record that night, Trish, her son was with us. And it was interesting because they were getting unnerved because when he went in there, and she was in the room with me because we were discussing what was transpiring in this case. There was so much going on. And I'm telling you, cameras were getting knocked over. Everything. It's like this. Whatever that was didn't want us there at all. And he came out and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but my mother is calling me into that garage." I said, "What do you mean she's calling you in the garage? She's sitting in here with me." He says, "Yeah, she's sitting in here with you. But her whatever that is in that garage is trying to lure me in." And I was just going, "Oh wow, okay." So at that point, I knew we were in a real bad situation with this lady, and so I get on the phone. I call the shaman. The shaman comes out, and the shaman decides to take this thing on. I did not go outside. My mother, I was in protection mode for my mother, so I stayed inside with the equipment, watching the monitors and everything. But I'm not going to mention names in this either. But my understanding is when the shaman went out there to do battle with this thing, she did battle with it outside, that she had to change it physically. She didn't realize it either that it had that it had attacked her. And I had people come in and go, "Gee, she needs another pair of underwear because she had wet herself during taking this thing on." And so yeah, so we stayed the night. We stayed as long as we could that night. The shaman did a cross blessing on the house, trying to get the thing out of there. And then we found out afterwards, because with these cases like this, what happens is that you think you have it out of the house, and then either the person that's living in the house invites it back in inadvertently, or the thing just comes back. And in this case, it returned. So I ended up contacting the local church on it, is what happened. And then I never heard anything else from the woman. So hopefully that got it taken care of. But we did run into something that was definitely, whatever that was demonic. Very, very, very demonic. And like I said, they're very rare. And that, that's like what 10 years into what I was doing as an investigator. It was 10 years, that I'm just looking to see, check my time. It was 10 years it took us to hit something that dark and demonic in a house. So that was an experience. It was something to write about and keep track of. And I do have files. I have files. I have closets back here full of files. Filing cabinets stacked up, so I can go back if I find similar cases. Cases with similar characteristics. I can go back through the files and see what we did and what transpired, so I can compare notes on these cases. So fast forward, a little more, and we got a case that was close by here by the state fairgrounds. Cal Expo is like right down the road down here, about maybe 2 miles. And I sent in the same for the prelim. I didn't get to go because I was taking care of my mother at the time, but I sent in the same team that that went into that original house out here that I was telling you guys about with the ghost that was pretending to be a demon. And they went in, and this had to do with this little girl that was speaking in tongues, just like that's like the movie The Exorcist, right? She was speaking in tongues. And you got to remember, the gentleman that went in again is one of my hardcore investigators, and not much scares this man. I mean, he is just all about technical and all this. I come to find out that this little girl, had done, because they called me and said, we almost left because this was really scary. And I said, what are you talking about? And they reported, this is the prelim, they reported that this little girl, she must have been, I think she was about 8 or 9 years old at the time, had done the spider walk across the carpeting. And she did talk in like Latin and things like that, in different languages. And so I knew we were dealing with something really dark at that point, where the little girl was changing personalities and all this was going on. And so we didn't even, I don't even think we went back to investigate, because the shaman had gone out there and said that this had been a generational curse that had been on, that the grandmother or great grandmother had been practicing black magic for years, and then it got all this bad karma got passed on through the family, which is where which brought us to have to go investigate there in the first place. So I think we ended up, the shaman had to deal with that one. But that was another really dark case, and that was the second time that I've ever seen this one gentleman come out of an apartment or a house scared, and to have him scared really hits you right here, because he's Mr. Calm on these cases. He's been doing them almost as long as I have, if not longer. Again, these are few and far between, and we're talking, this is over a span of 18 years that I've been doing this to run into these kind of cases. Um, Another one that comes to mind that I was thinking about, because I was thinking about these things last night. Excuse me. Oh wow, that tastes so good. I was thinking about these things last night. Which ones I was going to talk about tonight. And a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, was living in this house down in the south area of Sacramento area, and she'd been having trouble in this house since she moved in. And I'm not, to get the details about this house. The house had what I would call a dark history, in that it was a marijuana grow house at one point. So there were a lot, there was a lot of bad karma coming in and out of there. And her son, and Christina, if you're listening, I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, her son had accidentally shot himself and killed himself. I'm saying it was accidental. It was accidental. And so all this dark stuff had happened in this house. And so we go into the house, start our investigation, do the prelim. I'm interviewing her, getting the details of that. That was a grow house, not knowing that there was something demonic actually going on in this house. We get there for the night of the investigation, and we're walking around, and you could feel the air was like really, really thick in the house. You could just feel it. And go in there with one of our psychic team into the bathroom, which is where the accidental shooting happened. And she picked up that while it was a grow house, there had been a murder in there, which they knew about. And this had probably been a murder for hire, having to do with the drug lord, but somebody had been murdered right where the bathtub was. They made them scrunch down on their knees and did execution style to take them out. So that was going on in this house. So all this bad energy, just a case of just total bad energy in this place. And I remember going into the garage. And I remember Trish was, I think it was Trish was there, our psychic Trish, and she came out. She said, "It's demonic. There's something demonic. There's something dark flying around the garage. It looks demonic." And I couldn't see it, but I went out there with her, and she said, "No, it's over there now. It's over there now. It's over there now. It's over here. It's flying. It's got wings. It's here." Did some, did the investigation in there and went after it. I mean, we literally went after it to push this thing out, and we did some stuff around the house to try and keep whatever this energy was out of the house. They went around, salted, chanted, did some other stuff, and went home. And I came home, thought it was okay. Came home to listen to the EVP work, and fill out the paperwork because I always take paperwork back to the client. And I was sitting on my own couch, as I'm sitting on my own couch, doing all this paperwork and listening to the EVP session. Suddenly, my arm's burning, and I look at my arm, and I've got a scratch going all the way down here, and then another one appeared, and then another, three scratches. So this thing had followed me home. And then right after that, I have an air conditioner, through the wall air conditioner. It's an older house, and you could pop the front off of it to get to get to the filter to clean the filter out. And as I was sitting there doing this work and watching the scratches appear, I got to fix this chair again. As I was sitting here, the front part that pops on blew off the air conditioner and shot across 2 rooms and hit the wall. So this thing was in my house. So I had to make some phone calls into the shaman. I had to make some, chase this thing out of my house. And I did a hell of a job chasing it out of the house. I mean, I literally opened up all my doors and ordered it out in the name of Jesus Christ and all this stuff. And definitely ordered this thing out of my house. And it never returned to me. But it didn't go back to their house either because Trish and a couple others had gone and done some indoor and outdoor cleansing over there. But it was one of these cases where it was hovering along the perimeter of the house. It would stay hovering. And so, it would have to have maintenance. So the family would have to, or get Trish or one of us to go back out and then redo it all. Like if it rained, especially if it rained, because it would wash it all away. So would be a constant maintenance thing for that particular house. But that thing did follow me home, and I had the whole scratch thing going on. So it was crazy. It was really, really, really crazy. And yeah, like I said, that's number 3 case. 18 years, 18 years to, for that many cases. There was this house in Vallejo that we went out on, and this one, we still weren't determined whether it was a demon or whether it was just a ghost trying to act like a demon. However, I'm leaning more towards demon in there. We did have clergy come out on that one because we did get a photo in a window, or the client did. They were out barbecuing and they got a picture of this thing peering out at them, from the upstairs of this house, and it did look demonic. But what was significant was that the children in the house would hear this thing whispering to it in their bedrooms, and would stand in this one bedroom and kind of try to coax them in, but they would never go in. And again, I think it was her son was autistic. So again, you got somebody on the spectrum in this house. And what was interesting and scary at the same time was I had another psychic investigator who was kind of arrogant at that time, and nothing ever hurts me. I just love this stuff. He goes upstairs in this house to talk to this thing, or see what's going on with it. And somebody had to go up and get him because he got totally disoriented while he was upstairs. He couldn't find his way downstairs at all. Couldn't find his way out. And his heart was racing. His heart was racing at an alarming rate. They thought they were going to have to call 911, that he was going to have a heart attack. So whatever this was had attacked him while he was upstairs. And so they did the investigation on that one, and they did call out. We did end up calling out clergy to go out there and work with the family. From time to time, we do hear from the family, and sometimes she says it's back, sometimes she says it isn't. But we did consult clergy on that one as well. So these things, like I said, they do crop up from time to time, and I don't want to go into heavy detail, because if I go into too much detail on these things, chances are that people will figure out where they were, and I don't want to do that. And which investigators and psychics and clergy were involved in these cases, so I don't really want to go into real heavy detail with them. But it does happen. But again, like I said, it's rare. Like Bill was saying on Monday, he's done more than 1,000, but he's been doing it for a lot of years too, so they could stack up. And one thing I did notice too is when this shaman came on and we had the capability of fighting the darker stuff, we had more cases come in that seemed like they were dark cases. It's like the universe turned everything towards us to investigate these cases and handle them, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, people are in need. We're going to do our best, to help them. But on one hand, it's fine and dandy, but on the other hand, it's very stressful because you have to sort out who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. Is it really demonic, or is it, like I said, is it some insane ghost, like Nancy says, trying to act like it's demonic to scare everybody, scare the investigators, and scare the people that live there. So you really have to sort through this stuff. Perfect example of this. One of the last cases we did before COVID hit was a house in a rural area of California, fairly close to Sacramento. And there was a older man and his wife living there along with his two sons. And the one son, or along with his son, I can't remember if the two sons were living there or not, but the one son, again, was autistic. And he had some other health issues going on. See, so you got autistic, kid with other health issues going on. And the mother and father in this case were very, very, they were probably in their late 60s, early 70s. And they retired, because they were taking care of these kids. And they even had a hospital bed in the living room for the one boy. And the father, was, I don't know if he was being affected by whatever was in the house or what was going on, but he was very, very aggressive, very mouthy, very aggressive. And, and I wouldn't say abusive, verbally abusive. And as our team went in there to do the initial investigation, he was all over us, yelling at us, calling us names, all this other stuff, all these other things. Finally got him calmed down, did the walk through the house, and he swore up and down that whatever this was, it was a demon, naturally. Just not naturally, but that's what people believe, right? These people were very Catholic, by the way. And they swore up and down that this was a demon. And I was walking around the house, and I'm looking on the walls, and I noticed that they have a lot of blessed religious icons on the walls and some religious statues. And I said, well, how long have those been there? And the wife, who was very cooperative with us, says, oh, we've had them there all along. We put them up there when all this started. I said, well, I can tell you right now, this isn't a demon, because these things wouldn't be on the walls. Okay? Because they had these things in every room of the house, right? And I said, these things wouldn't be up on the walls if it was a demon. They'd be on the ground or broken. And I tried to reassure her. The husband, of course, was insisting that whatever this was demonic, and that we should deal with it. And so we got done with the prelim. Jeff, let me take a look at these comments. Thank you, Dad. I don't know who you are, but thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. I've been really stressing over it. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I'll get you a T-shirt or something for helping me out. So we get back out on investigation. We ended up going out of that place twice because we had so much trouble with him. And one of the things that came out during the prelim of this house was that the father had a brain tumor, and he was in remission. This brain. And one of the things I wondered about this, because he was so aggressive and so, I'm going to say nasty. I'm going to be honest about it. I mean, really nasty. I was wondering if he had been checked recently, because maybe because he was hallucinating too. He was seeing stuff in the house, and so that was one of my main questions. Was Oh, I was just seeing something real quick. Okay, um, that was one of my main questions. Was, maybe he should be checked for, because he's the one that was primarily seeing stuff and hearing the voices in the house. So I asked the wife. I said, well, when was the last time he had a brain scan? Because a lot of the stuff that he's telling me, and to see his anger like it is, there could be another tumor coming up in his brain. And she said, well, it's been a while, but I'm going to tell him to do that on your advice. And I said, yeah, I wish you would, because he had claimed that he would lean over his sick son, and his sick son's eye colors would change, and all this was going on, and so that's why he thought it was demonic. And they even had a photo of what they claimed was a ghost. And in that case, if somebody takes a photo on their own, you really can't prove it. Because with us, we'll take 3 photos in a row. We've got witnesses and all that going, and so we're able to prove it more. But if somebody gives us a photo, there's really no way to prove that that photo was legit or not legit. In fact, it looked like her son to me. As far as I was concerned, it looked like a kid. It looked like her son. Anyway, so we do the investigation. I did some ITC work where we use a black pan. And I'm going to do one of these online. I'm going to be doing an investigation here soon. I'm going to do an ITC live for you guys to see it and what we do with that. You get a black pan, fill it with water, you put a bright light on it, somebody takes flash pictures, you stir the water up, ask questions. Then you have to go through there with a fine-tooth comb to see if there's any faces, because a lot of times a face will appear in the water or other objects. And so we did this ITC session. You treat it like a EVP session. And so you're asking those questions, um, can you tell me your name and all that stuff? And you just, so what happened was, is I got the face of a man that we couldn't identify, a fairly younger gentleman with a beard, and we also got a Winnie the Pooh. And it turns out that the other son, his bedroom, had a Winnie the Pooh sitting on the floor. So it was all linking up, right? So anyway, we do the investigation, and we had to go back, because I couldn't figure it out for the life of me what was going on in this house. I mean, it was just so much going on, between the guy saying it's demonic, between the activity that was going on, the apparitions they were claiming were there, the objects moving. I was just trying to figure it all out. And so I get a phone call from her, and this is a couple weeks later. And she says, "You guys are coming back. I know." She says, "But I want to let you know that my husband had a brain scan, and he's got another tumor growing." And I said, "Well, you know what I think's going on?" And I told her at that point, he's not going to be happy with what I'm about to say. But what I think is going on is whatever is going, this tumor that he's got. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I have nurses on my staff. Whatever's going on, he's causing a lot of this activity because he's so upset. He's so angry. And it always happens when they're sleeping, right? Poltergeist activity. So he's causing poltergeist activity. And um yeah, and that's what I told her. She says, "Well, he's not going to be happy with that." I said, "Okay, we're going to come back. I'm going to do the post on this, and and we'll talk to him. We'll talk to him." So I took a team back in there, and he was really that particular day. He was really, really irate. I mean, I'm talking super duper irate. We get in there. I'm trying to sit down with him to explain what's going on, and he's yelling at me. I mean, he is just all over me. And we had some equipment with us, so I said, "You know what? We're done. And I can't do anything for these people. I told them what I think's going on. What I assume is going on, and let's pack up and get the hell out of here, because I'm not going to sit here and take anybody's abuse." And hi, Monica Funk. Thank you so much, Dan California. And Monica Funk, who is now gone, unfortunately. Love her to death. She's my best friend in the whole world. And I have a message here I gotta deal with. Um, Give me 1 second. This is a potential client, so I that I've been in contact with. So let me double check that real quick and make sure I got the message right. So anyway, Monica Funk was with me, and she went in, had a little chat with the guy, got him to calm down because obviously we couldn't do our job, and so she got him to calm down. So what's interesting about this is that we went into the side bedroom, and Trish, who went back on this case, thank you so much, Michael. I so appreciate it. Oh my God, I'm totally in debt to you. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, I decided to check that too. Thank you so much. My gosh, you didn't have to do that. So we go back in the house, and Trish is determined that there's another ghost there that we didn't expect. It was a younger boy that was in the house, a young man. And so we go into a side bedroom of this house. It's kind of more like a sitting room in this house. And Trish starts to channel this kid. And we started talking to him. And I had the recorder going. I did not have the video wasn't working that night for some reason. So I had a recorder going. And so I'm going to play this back for you guys on a later show because it's pretty incredible. And I gotta get my WD-40. And so Trish is talking to this guy channeling, and it turns out that this young gentleman, had lived on the property years and years ago before this house was built, and he had been a drug user, and he had got into this. I know you get these elaborate stories, right? We were able to cross check it too, and I'll tell you why. And he had been fighting with his parents because it was one of these cases where they wanted nothing to do with him and all this. So he decides to burn the house down and get even with his parents. So he sets the house on fire, not knowing that his mother is in the house. So he burns the house down. He killed it. This is what we got. This is what we got through Trish, the channeling. He killed his mother. And he had a lot of guilt from this. And so he stayed on the property. He stayed attached to this property. And I was able to verify it. Went back through county records, found the fire, the exact date that he said he set the house on fire. He gave me the date. He gave me the year. I was able to trace it on who the inhabitants of the house were. So I was able to cross check all that later on. But in the meantime, he wouldn't cross over or make the attempt to cross into the light, as wild as that sounds, right? For the people that don't believe. And so I said, look, it's okay. And he said, and in talking to him and continuing this conversation, he said he was there to protect the boys from the father because the father scared him because the father was so angry all the time. So that's why he was still there, pretty much, was because he was trying to protect these boys. So when the father actually saw him as a ghost, that was him. This is who the father was who the father saw was this younger kid. And that's probably, I'm not going to say that's what the photo was because I don't know, but that's probably who was on the photo. So as we're talking to him, I reassured the boy that the father, was getting help because he had this thing in his head growing, and that's what was causing it. In the meantime, he was afraid to cross over because he thought for sure that he wasn't going to go to a good place. And I said, well, you know what? You're very sorry for what happened to your mother and for what you did. So let's try and send you to your mother. And Trish was sitting on the chair next to me, and her eyes are shut. And Monica's in the room with us, right? So we're all sitting there watching this, and Monica and I are talking to him and trying to sweet talk him. And we asked through Trish, where is the opening? Where's the opening in this house for the ethereal light, right? And she said, well, it's across the room over there on the left. And I said, okay, let's try and talk him over. Let's try and talk him over. So we called on his mother to be in that light. And so it took some convincing. And like I said, I have all this, on recorder, the way it went down. And you can hear everything that's going on. And we were able to talk him to the light. And he looked in, he saw his mother there. and she was reaching for him to pull him through. And what was fascinating, what transpired next, I will never forget. Trish puts her hand out like this, like she's holding on to something, she's reaching. And I kid you not. All right. Now remember, Trish is sitting in this like lounge chair thing, right? She got up like somebody pulled her out of the chair. You know how when you help somebody out of a chair and you kind of pull them up and pull them forward to get them to stand up? She had her arm out and stretched, and I watched. She stood up. Okay. I didn't help her. I didn't lift her up. She just stood up like this. And she was standing there. And I said, okay, now that we're there, are you at the light? And Trish goes, yes, I'm at the light. Is that your mother reaching for you? Yes. Okay. Step 3, your mother's not mad at you. Just go with your mother. The second I said that, Trish falls back in the chair. Like she was released. Like whoever it was that had her by the hand released her down. Trish fell back in the chair. And my first reaction was, Trish, are you all right? And she said, yeah. I'm fine. So 5 of us on this team witnessed this whole thing go down this way. And this boy, he went with his mother finally. The guilt was gone. Go out, we announced it to the family, and the son, the autistic son, came over and hugged each and every one of us that was there. He was so thankful for what we did. Because, of course, he was seeing this boy too. And so we left and got a phone call from the wife later on, a year or so down the line, no other problems. The husband had gotten that tumor taken care of, and everything was hunky-dory in the house. So, like that's what you have to do. You have to go out, and you're not only an investigator, you have to be a counselor, you have to be a doctor, you have to be able to do this stuff. To be able to sort through stuff. And that was probably one of the hardest cases I have ever done, because it took me at least 30 days to 2 months to figure out just what the hell was going on in this house. And it felt good. It felt, the day that we left, and we left them with all the info and what had been going on, the day after we got the hugs from the one son, we all felt so good leaving that house because we had accomplished something. And we had done good. And there was never another report of anything going on again in that house, ever. But it's interesting, the stuff you find out. And again, you have to go out. When you find out that there's a kid like this that claims he gives us a name, he gives us a day that the house burned down and a time the house burned down, you have to go do your extra research, go check newspaper clippings, go to the library, go to the county records and see, what houses, if there were any houses there before. That's all part of the thing. It's not like it is on TV where, they go out, they do the investigation, and then they come back and do the post. Oh, here's your EVPs. Yeah, we think you have a ghost. No, we don't think you have a ghost. A lot more goes into it. You have to be a researcher, and you have to watch it. I mean, there's so many cases that we've gone out on where people are on medication. There was a case up in the hills where we actually picked up another ITC of a gentleman with a beard that had been an original owner of the house that we found a photo of. And as it turned out, this woman that lived in this house was taking this medication that would make her hallucinate and see things. The minute she got off the medication and changed medications, there weren't any more ghosts. So, I mean, that's just part of the job where we have to go out and see stuff. And sometimes the stuff they see isn't very pleasant. They'll think it's, like in this case, like with this gentleman, he thought it was a demon. But it turned out it wasn't a demon. So, I mean, it's just part of what we do when we go out. But like I said, we have kind of a boring history because we really have not had a lot of demon cases or a lot of demonic cases or dark cases. One thing I can tell you is, like, on our questionnaire, we had, I'll add one more before we close tonight. We were on Roseville, did this case out in Roseville, and the daughter had been watching shows like Ghost Hunters and whatnot, and she thought it was a joke, and Ouija boards and all this stuff was going on with her, and she they started seeing this dark thing like an animal running through the house, and it was just a dark shape of this animal, again something like 2-3 feet off the ground, and That turned out, to be what it was. It scared the people because they had a young son, and it would scare him. Well, what they neglected to tell us is sometimes clients don't tell us everything. All right, we go out to investigation night, and it's just us, one of the psychics, and I just, again, that was another one I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on because I was getting like the husband would say something, the wife would say something, so the stories were conflicting that I was getting, especially from the daughter. So I was trying to sort all this through. So I'm outside of the command center. I've got like 3 phones going. I had 2 remote psychics on, for each phone to see if we could figure out what was going on. While my investigators are coming out with reports that they're hearing banging in all these in the bedrooms. They open the door and there's nothing there banging. A couple of them saw some stuff float through the air. And then we get done with this investigation, get all the facts that we need. And one of the psychics calls me and says, "It looks like a witch." I said, "What do you mean it looks like a witch?" She says, "Whatever this is, it isn't human. I can't see its face. The face is covered in hair. Just this long, scraggly hair." And I said, "Really?" And that's all I needed. And I said, "Okay, we're in over our heads on this one. We need to get out, call the shaman, maybe call clergy on this, but whatever this is, it's angry and it's not human. We're not going to deal with that stuff. We're just not going to deal with it." So the client returns because they had taken off to go to a movie for the night. Client returns, I'm talking to them in the driveway, and this was the key factor that they didn't tell us because the client withheld information from us on this case. Okay? According to the client, they were doing laundry in their washroom, in their utility room. And while they were doing laundry, the dryer door opened and was ripped off the hinges and thrown across the room. This is something that they neglected to tell us, right? Had they told me that initially, I would have gone in, instead of going in as a general investigation, I would have gone in a lot differently with this case. The shaman would have come out immediately with us. One rule of thumb: ghosts cannot rip doors off the hinges. They're not strong enough to do that. If something is strong enough to rip a door off metal hinges, you're dealing with something that's not of this earth. So it all fit together at that point. The hinges were ripped off. They had this dark little creature running along the floor. And I told them flat out, I said, "I'm pulling everybody out. We're in over our heads right now. We're going to send the shaman out." Shaman goes out, finds out, like with that other case with that little girl that did the spider walk, that this had a generational curse going on. If you remember the show with Bill Bean, he talked about generational curses. This was also a generational curse. So she worked with the client. Everything's fine now. But whatever that was, I tend to think it was a banshee because the way it was described to me by the psychic that called me, it sounded like a banshee, to be honest. But again, if the client had been honest with us in the beginning and said, "Hey, we were in the laundry room doing our laundry, and this metal door got ripped off its hinges," I would have changed the way I was. I would have automatically shifted gears about how I handled the investigation. But they didn't do that, and we walked in not knowing that this thing had that much power. Luckily, nobody got hurt. Luckily, none of my investigators got hurt because it could have turned ugly on us. But that's what happens. But in the end, everything worked out. Shaman went out. Boom, boom, boom. Everything was taken care of. But again, see, like I told you, we're looking. That's what 3 or 4 cases in 18 years of coming in contact with stuff like that. It's very rare. It's very rare indeed to come in contact with stuff like that. Do I think that kind of thing is ramping up? I don't know because Bill Bean said that he thought that kind of activity was ramping up. I haven't seen that yet. And then you got to think about, you watch these TV shows and that's what they're all about. It's a ghost, da 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 da. It's a ghost, and or I mean, it's a demon. Sorry, not a ghost. That's a demon. Right away, people think it's a demon, and so that's the thought pattern. So who knows? Who knows if it's ramping up? I haven't seen it ramp up. I really haven't seen it ramp up. But that's just me and my view after doing this. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. Um, Dad Cal, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I'm indebted to you for eternity. Thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. What a relief. I appreciate it so much. I really do. And I want to thank everybody that's been listening on the RSS feed over at iHeartRadio and all those places. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. We are now up to 10,785 downloads of this show for this month. So I'm really excited about that. And like I said, I've got a lot planned for you guys. A lot planned. Like we started doing projects over in the other room for our off nights. I've got all kinds of projects. In fact, I just realized that I got a Christmas present a couple of years ago from my friend that is a Revell model of the Millennium Falcon that I want to build, and we can do it live and just kind of hang out together, in the other studio. But I want to thank each and every one of you that listened tonight, and I wish I had more scary stories to tell. But to be perfectly honest, like I said, that stuff is few and far between. But when you do get them, they're usually humdingers like those cases, and you have to be very, 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 very careful. The interesting thing to point out too is that before I sign off is that the Catholic Church for years has taken a dim view on ghost investigators because they think we stir more stuff up than it's worth. But the problem is in a lot of these cases, we are the ones that put ourselves out there so that we can document what's going on in the house, because the church isn't going to go out and just do an exorcist because you say, oh yeah, I think this has to be an exorcist. The church wants facts to go along with it, hardcore evidence to go along with it. So what they do is they have us go out. We're the first defense, so we can take all the notes and get all that hardcore information before they come out. So it's kind of like a catch-22 with this. Okay, so tomorrow Nancy Matz will be with us. It's Casual Friday, and we're going to be talking relationships. Are you struggling in a relationship and you know dang well that it's not working out for you? We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. And again, be sure to visit the California Haunts Meetup. We do have that relationship Valentines reading coming from Nancy. And check that out as well. And I want to thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dad, California. I really appreciate it. So I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. If you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. We're equal opportunity here at California Haunts Radio. We're just trying to get the word out about our little show. Alrighty, guys. See you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great evening.